Joined by Ryan Blaney. And Ryan, if we can just have you open up and give a brief overview of how this test has gone for you and how the car feels for you the last day and a half.
Yeah, it's obviously it's nice to get in this new car, especially a day or two after we just ran here. A good comparison of something that's fresh in your head, not thinking of months before. So that's been nice. It's been nice to have long days today and yesterday of working through things. Not only the drivers learning the car, but the crew also working on it. I mean, it's a massive change from what they know as well. So it's just giving them a lot of practice too. Trying to make changes rapidly, and just figuring out how to kind of perfect everything. So it's been really good. It's nice the weather's held up good, and been able to make a ton of laps. So that's nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll open up for questions. Please raise your hand. Wait for the wireless mic. We'll start with Jordan over here.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. A lot of drivers have come in here and they've talked about the steering issues and everything. Have you had that issue, and can you elaborate if you had and what you experienced?
Yeah, we did. Yesterday morning, I made half a lap in it. I had an issue, so we came in, changed it, changed the steering box, everything, and it was good for a couple runs, and then it kind of started going south again. A lot of vibration with it. Mainly on the oval, kind of when you get up to max speed under load, and then it would slowly start losing like power steering assist, and that was just kind of getting worse. So we put another one on it yesterday, and that seemed to last the rest of the day. It still had some of the shake, and so we took some boxes back to Penske and kind of took them apart. We were able to tinker with them a little bit, and today I've been pretty happy with it. So it's just one of those things that you get these new parts and pieces, you try them out on these really wild racetracks, you're going to have some issues, and this is why we have these tests to kind of sort out those issues. So I'm happy we were able to kind of sort that out. And today I feel like everyone feels better about it when they've gotten a chance to look at them and work on them and mess with them. So that was good to figure out. Just going to have those things with kind of new parts and pieces and stuff that no one really knows anything about. So.
In your estimation, how close is this car to being ready to race in an actual race?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. The thing drives pretty nice in the infield. I didn't really know what to expect. I tested it at Texas about 3-4 months ago, and it's a way different deal than this. And through the infield, this car is pretty neat. I mean, you can hustle the heck out of it. The brakes on it are pretty amazing, a lot more than what we got now. I think the biggest thing you got to just figure out is, the steering side of it, racing with people. Are we going to go to Bristol and have this same problem? It's massive high load racetrack on everything. We're going to have the same issue? I don't know. You would hope not, but you got to think that Bristol has a lot more load on everything than here. And so those are just the things you got to figure out. So I think if you get the steering deal better, other than that, we haven't really had any problems and issues that I'm like, we need to fix this or fix this. The heat side of it, I'd like to see a little bit better cooling inside the race car. It's not been bad the last 2 days. It's been kind of cool outside, so I haven't really noticed you're not baking in there. I know Daytona drivers said they were, but it was a little bit different. It was hotter down there, but you still got to get the things to where you're not, cooking turkeys inside the race car. So I think it's close. I think they've done a good job of developing it, and that's what all these tests last 2 days, and then the 3-4 tests we have coming up in the winters. It's try to work some of the bugs out, and then I think it's getting there though. So.
Thank you. We'll come over here to Alex, then Nate.
Hey Ryan, Alexandra with the Charlotte Observer. I know that it's still early for you guys, but do you have any sense of what these cars will run like here when you guys are racing in a pack?
No idea. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what it's going to be like. It's one thing running by yourself, another thing running, around cars. I don't think you won't notice as big of a difference like running on the road course in a pack compared to when we do the oval test here next month. That'll be the big deal. Just kind of see how they run in the pack, because at the end of the day, really, the car's going to drive the way it drives by itself, no matter what it's like. Handling wise, things like that. But what do we always complain about? Oh, they're terrible in traffic. Not these cars, but the cars now. Oh, they suck in traffic. Yada yada yada. And so that's the biggest thing, is making sure they're better in traffic than what we got now. I mean, that's what we all talk about. So I can't give a great answer on that. I'll have a better one next month after we run at the Oval and get those cars with a different downforce package and get them in a pack of 10 cars and kind of see how they are.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Ryan, what you were saying there about how the team is kind of figuring out how to make changes and everything like that. Joey was just in here and he described this as like almost like an old school test session. No data, like hardly any simulation. He was saying it's kind of like shooting from the hip. What's that like for you as a driver? Where I know you're trying to take on like more of the leadership role at Penske. Brad being gone, like, do you feel like pressure to kind of like guide them in a certain way, or is it just sort of like an understanding that there's only so much any of you will really know?
I have no guidance right now in these cars. I'm blind squirrel out there just like they are, trying to work on this thing and trying to figure out the best way to go about stuff. They obviously know a lot more about making changes and building it more than I do. So it's the best thing I can do is give the best feedback I can on changes we make. And, because, you're not putting track bars down, you're not messing with truck arms, just everything's different. And a lot of the changes, some of the changes we make, they're like, all right, this is, we think, comparison of like putting the track bar down. Like, okay, does it do what I think it's supposed to do? I don't know. So a lot of it is, it's a new experience for us as drivers, just trying to figure out what changes do what, because we don't know. I mean, a lot of the things we've done over the last couple of days, some of them have been, oh, well, that's done the opposite of what we predicted it to do, and that's just the learning curve of everything. So we're all learning together, and I think these 2 days are really nice for everybody to kind of sit around and just gather data of everything. We have one data card and you're kind of looking at everything and stuff like that. But we're all learning together. We're all pretty green on this side right now, but it's the same for everybody. And it's the teams who learn it the fastest and pick it up quickest and find little things here and there. They're going to thrive come next season.
Joey and Bowman were both in here talking about like how wheel hop pretty much isn't going to be a thing anymore with independent rear suspension. With you kind of having like the comparison from Sunday to the last 2 days, like what are some things like that you've seen? Is that one of the biggest things that stands out? You mentioned the braking. Are there any other things that are just way different than the old car?
It's way different. You don't really have wheel hop anymore. You'll like lock the rears, like that sensation of just locking the rears and sliding. There's no more of that wheel hop, which honestly, if you're going to pick one, I'd rather completely lock the rears up and slide than wheel hop, because wheel hop that's a hard thing to get out of. So that's different. So the braking potential of these cars are so much more than what we got now. Just the brake, you look at the brakes on them, they're massive compared to what we have. That's going to be the same for everywhere, 1.5 miles, everything. So the braking potential is huge. It's just a matter of what we've been working on. I think a lot of teams are like how the car reacts to these huge brakes, because the brakes have more potential, I feel like, than the car handling right now in like heavy braking zones. Like the backstretch, we're braking 2 markers later than what we were Sunday. And you could go more, the brakes will handle it, but the car just kind of starts sliding around. And so that's the thing everyone's trying to balance. And then just driving it with the wider tire and independent rear suspension, it feels like the limit is higher, what you can push the car. But then I feel like with the lack of side force that these cars have compared to what we got now, it's a lot easier to kind of jump over that line and be in big trouble. So it's kind of hard. We spent a long time yesterday kind of finding, you want to find your limit, but I spun out twice yesterday trying to find it and didn't even think I was close to spinning out, and it just spins out. So that side has been pretty tough to kind of figure out what's the limit, but it's easier to jump over that limit, if that makes sense. So you can push them harder, but they're easier to kind of cross that line. So just that's the biggest things to me. And there's a lot of other things that I could probably touch on, but just everything different in the car. Even your visual, sitting in the car is different. We're sitting lower in these cars. In the front glass and the rear glass, they got more angle to them, so you can't see as much. Like, it's not as straight up, the glass in front of your face. So your visual kind of signs are different. So it takes a while to kind of get used to and change, and your surroundings are different. So if you change something in your cubicle, it's going to bother you, and our cubicle is way different right now, so everything's kind of messing with you, and you're trying to make it as comfortable as you can. So just a lot of that stuff from driving it to just sitting in the car has changed so much, but it's what you're going to have to get used to. And the forward and back transmission. It's that's a little different too. So there's no more getting in and making sure it's in neutral. That doesn't work. Yeah, it's a number on the dash. So.
Chris.
Chris Weaver, Fox 8 High Point. Ryan, you were just talking about the finding the edge and finding the limit. Corey LaJoy talked about this new car may help shrink the gap between the front and the back of the field, make it in a driver's car. What do you think about that concept of that it's going to be a driver's car and it may bring some of those, it may showcase talent of the drivers versus what the team can do to make the car fast?
I think that's the goal of it, right? I mean, that's the whole goal of limiting teams to what parts they can make and cannot make. I mean, right now, as far as I know, there's not a lot of parts that teams are making anymore for these new cars. I mean, it's all coming out of one manufacturer. It's all coming out of one company. Do I like that? To an extent, I do. But on the other side, we have full-time jobs for people who make these parts for us. They're not going to have those jobs anymore. So that side, I'm not a fan of. But on the same end, we can still probably find places for them in our company. But as far as I think it brings it closer together. Yeah, if you don't have these, big teams and little teams, big teams can make all their parts out of lightweight stuff. They have more money to spend. That's where all that money goes. And now it's kind of shrunken that deal as far as everyone's kind of getting a lot of parts from the same vendor. So I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the engine manufacturers because that's like the one thing that we can still really find, from Roush 8s to Toyota, Chevy, all that stuff. It's going to put a huge emphasis on motors next year, I think. Just because a lot of parts and pieces are the same except for the motor side. That's still kind of their own. So I do think, the driver side of it is going to show up a little bit more, which is nice, for sure. That's what everyone wants, right? You want to see new teams and startup teams have a better shot at really running well. That draws more new owners and teams to the sport. If it's not as much unknowns of getting in the sport. If it's like, all right, you get your stuff from here and here and here, so does everybody else. They're like, oh, that's a lot easier than having to figure out a way to make all these parts if you're going to compete. So I think it's accurate what Corey said. Yeah, for sure.
Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Where did you spin out yesterday, and what were the circumstances?
Yeah, I spun out in the same spot. I spun out on the backstretch chicane in that second curb, the right curb. Just hit it wrong, and just kind of, so like, you get in there, you have the left one, then you kind of go back to the right. And I hit the left one, not in a great spot. Wasn't bad, though. I did it a lot Sunday and was still able to save the car, but you just kind of, this is good for test sessions because you're pushing limits, and that area, if you spin out there, you're not going to hit anything. So instead of spinning out like in 3 or something like that, so you kind of find your spots to where you want to push the car. But yeah, just that's the thing I was talking about earlier. Is kind of, you can push the cars harder, but your limit of like slip angle in the tire is smaller, I think. Because I thought, I can just power out of it and slide it and be good. And next thing I knew, I was sitting turned around. So yeah, same spot, just back there yesterday. So, and the curbs, so we got the aluminum blocks under the car everyone talks about. There's 6 of them. So when you hit curbs on the road course and it comes down, it hits those blocks hard. And I think that kind of upsets cars a lot more too. So that's going to be another thing of being sensitive about how you can hit those blocks and how low you can run the cars. And I think that played a factor in me spinning out. It just landed hard and turned around.
You've been around long enough. This was at one point maybe a little bit of the norm where there'd be testing as you prepare for another event. But obviously that hasn't been the case the last few years. So as a playoff driver, it's focused playoffs, and now you got to take 2 days out for this. How does this change your week in the sense of what you would be doing in preparing for this week's race at Texas, since you've lost 2 days to do a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if it was my choice, I'd drive a race car every day. The week, just seat time is good no matter what it's in. So that it doesn't change my aspect at all. Todd was here for the first half of the day yesterday, just kind of seeing how everything goes. Hassler's been running the crew chief job here these 2 days, just me and him kind of getting acclimated because this is the car we're going to work on next year. And Todd was here to kind of make sure, that, it was just constant communication between all of us. And so he helped out as much as he could, but then he went right back and worked on the Texas car. So for me, it doesn't change anything. He and I have just been, texting the last 2 days, and we're trying to, figure out things on Texas. So for me, it doesn't change it. A lot of the guys working here today, they were, racing Sunday. Then they have to get up 7 a.m. Garage opens here, run 10-hour days, and then they got to go work in Texas. I'd say it's harder for those guys to kind of try to get their rest. But for me, I prefer it. I enjoyed testing. Back when it was wide open, we test all the time. So it's kind of been nice to have that back again here for a little bit.
And you've won a couple races on the 550 package this year. How do you look at this next round and Texas in particular?
Yeah, I think this upcoming round is pretty good for us, honestly. The Texas, Kansas, Martinsville have been really good tracks for us. The last 550 we ran was Vegas, and I thought we had a really strong car at Vegas. We were able to drive up through the field from having to take the wave around in the second stage, and got back to fifth. We probably could have run third. I would like to line up with the 11 and the 9 to see what we had for them, but so I'm enjoying going to Texas here. We had a really good run there, especially last year. It's just been a place that kind of works for what we do. So, you just hope you have, you unload with solid cars and have good days. And obviously winning is the best way to get into the championship, but just can't have any mistakes. You see people have mistakes, really fast cars had their mistakes, throughout the rounds, and it costs them. So we've done a good job of managing, maybe not our best days, but we've managed to do a good job and come home, solidly. And our cars have been fast too. So looking forward to this round. It's nice to have the bonus points that we have to just go up there and race and see what happens. Obviously, winning Texas would be nice this weekend and not have to worry about it for 2 weeks and then focus on Phoenix. But got a lot of confidence in it. Hopefully, we keep improving and getting better and better and having good runs and make it. So,
All right, we have 2 more, Alex, and we'll wrap with Jenna.
This is actually just a next-gen follow-up, but there was talk about a rear-view camera at Daytona. Have you guys been using that for this test?
We have. So the way I said the front and rear windshields got more angle to them, so you can't see as much. And there's all these air tubes that run through in the back glass and things like that. And like our traditional mirror now, you can't really see much. So they got this camera. It's like the cameras that are on the front of the cars for in-car cameras, or the roof cam. It's pointed back, and we've run it the last couple days, and I'm not a huge fan of it. It doesn't have a huge field of vision. Like, you can see your spoiler, and there's nothing outside of it you can see. And I know they're working on one with a lot more range of view, I guess. So that'll be good. But the bad thing is, I know it's going to get better, but like ours crapped out today, our camera, and it's like, well, we haven't been able to use it. So hopefully, you don't have one do that in the race, and you have no rear view, sight. So I think it's got good potential. It's just a matter of getting the range opened up more. I don't know if you do a fisheye, but then you kind of mess with distortion, and your depth perception is kind of messed up too. Like, I thought I was about to back over a ladder, and they were like, no, you got 6 feet to the ladder. I'm like, well, you don't know. So it's just going to take getting used to, but I have seen it, and I know they're working on ways to make it better on multiple angles.
So that's in addition to the what you typically have, I guess, in this car.
Yeah, I think from what I understand, next year the digital rear view mirror is going to be optional. And then I think the year following, like in 23, it's going to be mandatory. That's just what I was told. So I don't know if you can run both, if you can run a traditional mirror and the digital one, like next year. I don't know, but we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, that's definitely new for sure.
Last question.
Hey Ryan, backing it up to looking ahead to this round of races. You're having a really great year, statistically the best year of your Cup career. I'm wondering, do you feel like you can advance into the championship round? And what do you think it would take to get to the besides a win?
Man, Jenna, what do you want me to say? No, I don't think we can advance. No, it's been a good year. It's been a fun year. It's been nice to get multiple wins. Especially for Todd's last year, it's great to have a really cool year with him. It's been a lot of fun. I think this is the best consistently that we've run throughout a whole year, especially like put together a solid playoff run for sure. So Yeah, I mean, I do like our chances a lot to get in, whether that's a win or pointing our way in. I feel like all 3 of these tracks we're going to go to the next 3 weeks, we have a shot to win at, for sure. So it's just about putting everything together, and I think our team can do it. We got to find a little bit of speed here and there, but I feel like with the progress we've made on speed in our cars and the execution we've had the last, 6 weeks has been really, really solid. And we just got to keep that up. But I got a lot of confidence going into it, and I think everyone on Team Penske does too. It's nice that we have 3 cars, in the round of 8. So obviously, I want to get in. It'd be nice to get all 3 of our cars in. But yeah, I think these are good tracks that line up for us. We just got to go capitalize and do what we can do best.
I think it was Joey who said on Sunday that top 3s are going to be what it takes to get it. If you don't win, you need top 3s. Do you think it's going to be that high of a number?
I think so, for sure. I mean, all the cars in the round of 8, they're really good. You get that every year. You get field cut down to 8 cars, and you're competing against really, really good teams and really good drivers, and a lot of them don't make mistakes, and that's why they're there. So, yeah, I feel like if you can't win, you got to get really good stage points, like 15 stage points at least a race, and then top 3 it, for sure. I know Joey and Brad are in a little bit different spot than me, not having as many points, but I still feel like on our side, you have to make that happen, and you need to be running really in the top 5 like the whole race, to get your stage points, finish good, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to be tight. I mean, it's going to be really tight unless, people have problems. So I definitely agree with what he said. So.
Thank you very much for
Yep,
your time.
thank you.
Ryan.
Appreciate it.